Right, so it's time to talk about the cart page or start creating it. So let's create a new page, overwrite my old cart page. Sad to see it go, but I'm recreating it. Copy and paste everything from index, but yeah, we need to clean it out big time. Now remember, using sessions is all about storing persistent data so that the user can enjoy your website without the application forgetting things. On our cart page, so let's go back to, we'll give them a link back to continuing shopping instead of viewing the cart, obviously. That's what we're doing now. Let's just start this content div again. It's just easier. As well as the PHP. That's all right. Okay. Now, let's put a heading in here. Current shopping cart. Remember, we'll probably do some styling at the end because you don't want to get caught up doing the styling. It takes forever. And it can be tricky if you're not proficient at CSS or using Bootstrap. All right, what do we need? We need to output what's in the cart in a table. So we need to essentially loop through what's in the shopping cart and output it to a table. So let's go table and add a little bit of styling, despite what I just said. What is it? 1 pixel solid black, just to make it easier to see that that's the table. Otherwise you won't know. We'll hard code in the headings. TH is the tag you want. First one, product name. We'll go price. And we'll go quantity. And we also need an empty heading column, or to create a column for the action, such as remove. I'll leave it as action. But in terms of user interface design, I'd probably remove that and have a little garbage bin. Okay, now we need some PHP. Oops, not that. PHP delimiters, they're called. And we need to loop through what's in the shopping cart array, which is an associative array. A really good loop for associative arrays is a for each loop. It allows you to place things into or loop through keys and their values. You might remember from the last video I talked about those at the end. If you haven't watched that bit, go back. Because the more you know about this stuff, the more you can do with it. So it's all well and good to follow along with what I'm doing, but if you don't understand it, you can't customize things easily and do what you want. So for each item in our shopping cart and its associated values, we want to output those. So we need another row in our HTML table. So let's close off our PHP to make it easier, and it goes there. No, not quite. Open it up again for that curly brace. And the more stuff we're going to add. Let's go table row, close it off. And in here, if we're going to add a remove button, we need a form. So we need a form, and the action can be the same page. Method can be get, because it's got no sensitive data, does it? No. Okay, so within each form we want to output what's in our shopping cart in the TDs in the same row. So we want to go, so we're looping through it. It's going to create a row for each product. So we want to go PHP echo the value, not the key. So we want the values, and then we want, what's the first one? Product name. Close off your PHP. And we can actually test that now, I believe. What's going on here? Yes. Cool. That looks like it's working. Table doesn't have a border. Did I do something wrong? Table style 1 pixel. Solid black. That's weird. Oh, that's it. My bad. There we go. Okay, cool. So this product name is what's in our shopping cart. Let's also do price. Test that. Obviously, you're going back and testing a lot. Add the $sign. Shall we format it? Number format. So it looks like a price in Australian dollars. There we go, that looks better. And the quantity is going to be based on what's stored as well. However, we want to change the quantity potentially. So we want a drop-down list that already has the number 1 selected, I guess. So a drop-down list is called a select. We'll call it quantity. For later, and on change, we'll go this .form.submit. So we don't need a button, you might remember. Close that, and oops, and option value equals 1. So that's going to work, hopefully. We'll see. Yep, cool. I'll do a few more. I'm not going to do 10 like I did in the example because you guys don't have all day. Neither do I. I'll do 5. Oops, not yet. 5 is a good compromise. 50-50. 5. Yep, awesome. Action means we need a button. Input type is submit. Name is remove. Value, or what appears on the button, as you've heard me say so many times throughout these videos, is remove. Cool. And the form is submitting with the quantity selected. No. Oh, submit. Okay, cool. Yeah, it is submitting. When we change the drop-down list or when we press remove, which is okay, because we're processing the form submit differently. If we were just processing the form submit, regardless of how it was submitted, so whether they changed the drop-down list or they press remove, if we're doing that in one, processing it in one, we would run into issues you can probably foresee. We need a couple of input types, hidden inputs, or one, in fact, because we need to know which product to remove. So in other words, we need to know, say there's multiple rows, we need to know which button, remove button we press, which is associated to a hidden ID. I'm just going to chuck it there. Don't see that being a problem. That's how I did it before. you might remember on the index page I did this, the hidden inputs after the table or form, I believe. No, it must have been in the form, but after the table. But anyway, hidden ID. That doesn't really matter. Does it need a value? Yes, it needs the product ID, which comes from here, because the product ID is in the that's product name. It's in the shopping cart, isn't it? Hit remove, gets the ID of the one we're trying to remove. Let's continue shopping for a minute and try another one. A couple of good old Chef Anton. Yep, he must be hidden ID 5 because his product ID, well, I assume it's a he, Chef Anton. Product ID 5, good. Cool. Let's put in the subtotal down the bottom. So, oh, that's going to be fun. After the table in here, let's create a paragraph just for white space around it to make it easy to read, and we'll go subtotal based on the number of items, and the subtotal is equal to a calculation, a mathematical calculation, a very easy one, which by now you should be able to do, no matter which maths you do. We need the button to submit the form for checking out as well. So let's chuck that in. So just reading my notes to make sure I don't make mistakes because they take up time. Action is nothing. Method, no, that's not right. Method is, speaking of mistakes, method is get, and we'll go input type equals submit, name is payment, value is proceed to check out, test stat. That looks good so far, cool. In here we'll have a number for the number of items they've ordered, or the number of different products they've ordered, not the actual quantities. It's not going to add up the quantities, it will add up the different items. And then we'll have the price there, the subtotal. So you might remember from the explanation video in the shopping cart series that when we hit proceed to check out, that's when it inserts into the database in the orders and order details tables, which I've explained the purposes of. Go back and watch if you haven't seen it. We also need to close the connection to the database. So down here we can do that, because it's probably a good idea. And I explained that as well earlier in an earlier video. I can't remember which one, but it is in there. Okay, so now we need to look at what we're doing next, which is getting the number of items and the subtotal. So let's create a variable. Where should I do it? It's got to be on that side, doesn't it? In the loop, so there's good. So we'll go subtotal equals, what does that equal? Plus equals, so subtotal equals what it already equaled plus what we're adding to it each loop, because it's got to go through each row in the shopping cart. What are we adding? We're doing values. Oops. We're doing values price times quantity, right? That's how you calculate the total, the number of items times the price, times, where's the quantity? It's not there, so we'll go values, quantity. If if it exists. Have I got it somewhere? Oh, there it is. No, I don't. Ooh. Probably need it here. Making sure you're paying attention. Disabled, selected, value. Why did I do this? Why did I decide to make all these videos? So that's how it echoes it, so there it's going to get it there. Well, it's looping through anyway, so it doesn't matter if it's there or not, does it? So let's test that. It's probably going to give us a complaint about something. Undefined variable subtotal, because it doesn't exist yet until we click something. Maybe. No? Not yet. Anyway, let's create it. Because often you need to initialize a variable before you use it. Okay, so we'll chuck it in there. It's a price, so I reckon that's a good numeric data type for a price. See if that does anything. Oh, we haven't told it to output. That's the problem, isn't it? Subtotal, number of items, and then a $sign, and then we want to output subtotal, don't we? So we'll go PHP, we'll close it, and we'll echo subtotal, which can be problematic. Troublesome, problematic. $67, is that right? Yes. 36 and 10 is 46. Yep, cool. Remove doesn't yet work yet, obviously, because we haven't programmed it to, but subtotal is working. It doesn't have that format, so let's try formatting it to 2 decimal places. See if that fixes it. Yeah, that looks better. Now, sometimes when I was working this out yesterday to make it easier to make a video on, I was getting an error about non-numeric numbers not being well formed when I was trying to do this multiplication. So if you're getting that error, it's probably because it's storing price in the shopping cart as a string. So you might need to cast it to an integer or a double or a float, which is what I actually had to do yesterday, but it doesn't look like it's causing issues today, so we'll leave it today. But I had to convert it to do that. All right, so we only want to, let's just demonstrate something. So let's log out and we'll log back in and we'll go straight to the cart, and you can see there it's got issues, and it's got a table for a shopping cart that doesn't exist. So that's not really good in user experience. Doesn't really demonstrate I know what I'm doing. So I'm going to say if something, oh, that's not what we want. If there is a shopping cart, so if it's not empty, the session array for shopping cart, then we want to essentially do all of this. So fun. Indent. Delete that. So we want to initialize subtotal and loop. And then, so we need to indent everything across one. I'll leave the delimiters, obviously. Not going to confuse us. So that's got to go across one of that as well. Does it? Yeah, that's the for each one. So this is how you close off the if statement. So that's if there is a shopping cart, which you'll get rid of that error. There's no subtotal to calculate. So we need an else. Where's that? Where did I put that? I put that under there. That's weird. Oh, okay. I put that in the wrong spot. It actually goes further down. Is that table got to be intended? No. Oh, stuff it. I'm just going to leave it. There it is. Is that lining up? That is not lining up. It's got to go across to 2 tabs. That's better. Test that actually. Cool. Why's the table still there? Oh, because it's outside. Okay. Let's put the table within the if statement as well, so that it only appears if there's a shopping cart or if we've ordered items. Otherwise, it should say something like cart's empty. What am I doing? Here we go. Is that right? Yep. Just checking these indents is fun. Okay, so if there isn't a shopping cart, obviously we don't want to do all of this. So if there isn't one, we'll just do something like echo your cart is empty. Doesn't need an exclamation mark, does it? Your cart is empty. Continue shopping. Tell you what, let's go back to shopping. Cool. Awesome. So we're going well. We need to think about how we're going to process a couple of things. So them changing, or the user changing the quantity they want to order, or the user pressing remove on an item, or the user pressing proceed to checkout. Ooh, didn't put the number of items there. So let's just do that really quickly. Oh, it's easy. Says he who's copying it off his notes. So we want to echo the count, not the $ count. That's not a variable. We want to echo count what's in the shopping cart, or the number of arrays that include items in the shopping cart, and that should put the number of items there. Let's give it a go. 1 items. 2 items. Okay, remember I said before the number of items here refers to the number of different products, not the quantity of them. All right, cool. That looks pretty good. Let's process firstly the user changing the quantity. So let's go. Hell of a lot of if is sets in this web application, right? Is set. Hopefully there's no actual web developers watching this just yet. Okay, so if they change the quantity, or if the quantity in the form has been changed, so the form's been submitted, we want to find out where that quantity's been changed and update the quantity that's stored in the shopping cart at that product ID or that location. So I did mention before, for each loops go hand in hand with associative arrays because of their keys and values. So let's go for each, what is it? Shopping cart. For each item in our shopping cart as keys to values. Don't know how to pronounce that thing. Let's go if the ID, hidden ID rather, if the hidden ID matches the product ID in the shopping cart, so the hidden ID, it's getting it from where we've changed the quantity. If that matches up to the one in the shopping cart, so if $values and its product ID is equal to request hidden ID. So this will be very, very similar to what we do for the remove button, which is good because we can probably copy and paste. Then we can make use of the benefits of associative arrays and go to shopping cart, at position, keys, and this quantity, or the quantity, we're going to set to request quantity. Is it quantity or hidden quantity? No, it's just quantity, isn't it? Yep, there it is. And that should do that. Let's test that. Change it to, say, 2 of those. That looks pretty good. So it updates the price. Let's change it to 2 of those. And 38 and 36 is in fact 74. So it looks like it's all working, except removing. Oops, we don't want to save this page. Okay, so that's good. So I'll just put a comment in here, loop through shopping cart, and that is to find which product or which product ID and its associated quantity to update quantity for. I mean, you should know what this does, but I'll just write user changes quantity ordered. Okay. Yeah, so this loop and this if statement is to match up the product ID with the one they're trying to change. And then this is how you find that, or you actually set that position and that quantity to what they've entered, okay? Okay, so let's copy and paste that because, as I said, it's very similar for remove. It's called remove. We do want to loop through again, and if product ID matches hidden ID, then we want to remove it. How do you remove or delete a session array or an item in a session? You go unset and then the one you're trying to remove. So in this case, it'll be $_session, not the whole shopping cart, just the one we want. So it'll be everything for that key. It should, in a perfect world, delete it. Let's go away. Let's test it. Might need to refresh this page. Let's go remove, and it removes it and updates the price, and that quantity stays there, and that looks like it's working, which is awesome. So the finish line is in sight. We need to write a couple of SQL queries because we're inserting into both the orders table and the order details table because they're linked. But before we do that, let's it's worth having a look at the database and having a look at the data types and fields we're entering data into. So for orders, for example, that all looks pretty straightforward. At the moment, I haven't got a method on my cart page for specifying the delivery and completed options. I actually added those fields in to the Northwind database. If you get the vanilla version, then it doesn't have those. I added it in last time I built this application, which I'm rebuilding. The only problematic one might be, we're going to use a dummy value for order employee ID as well. The customer ID is the user ID, which is the person logged in. The order ID should be auto increment, and the only problem might be the order date because of the format it's in. PHP has a built-in function for getting the date, which we'll use. The problem might be just getting it into that format, which might cause an issue if we try and insert into it. Let's have a look at order details. Looks pretty straightforward. Geez. I guess they've placed bulk orders here with all the quantities. But anyway, that should be easy enough. We'll tackle that one when we get to it. As we've done before, we're going to write the queries in here, or write a couple of queries in here to test, make sure they work. So let's go across to SQL, delete it. Oops, not paste everything, delete everything. So it's an insert into orders. What fields? All of them except order ID because it's auto increment. So I'll go customer ID, employee ID, order date. You don't have to do it this way. I just like to test it because, as I've mentioned several times, you don't always get an error message when you do executing SQL in your PHP and the values. All right, so customer ID, that'll come from the person logged in, which is in session user ID, as far as I remember. So that will be a number. So let's just do a dummy one and see if we make sure our SQL is correct. So employee can be number 10, whoever that is. Order date. The dates need quotes. Let's try without it. What was it? 96. Then the month or the day. I don't even know. We don't do dates like that here. That'll hopefully work. Shipper ID. Let's go number 1. Delivery is a string or a varchar, so we'll set it as shipping. And we'll set completed as no, which is is that a boolean? Let's have a look. I created it, I should know. Completed is a varchar, so it can be a word. Let's give that a go. And that works, cool. Let's test, not test, but have a look at what that actually does. No, that date didn't work, did it? So, geez, I've done a few today. Let's have another look at that date. Try it in quotes. See if that works. Browse. The end. That worked. Okay, so the date's got to be in quotes. Right. So it's inserting when they click payment, because remember I mentioned in the first video in this part of, or in this shopping cart series, that I'm not doing the next page where they do payment and stuff, because if you can get this far and understand it, then you definitely should be able to do that. So go if is set. Actually, let's just paste in our SQL before it disappears from our clipboard. We need quotes around that. We'll clean that up in a minute. So if is set, what's our button called? Someone? Payment, isn't it? Where is it? orders, payment, yep, cool. If you set that, there's our SQL. We need to get the user ID. That's equal to the person logged in, which is stored under, what's it stored under? User ID, lowercase u. And the reason I'm creating these variables, as you might know by now, is that I don't like using that sort of syntax in my SQL queries because I just have issues. Or they seem to have issues, I don't have issues. Built-in function is date, PHP, it'll get today's date from the Windows, or perhaps from somewhere else, I don't know. And the format, luckily I've got it on hand, is year, then month, lowercase, then day, lowercase, if you want to match up what's in the database already. Your web application might not match that, but that's okay. So now user ID is going in there. Date is going in there. What else do we need? That is all we need, isn't it? Yes, okay, so we're going to execute that. So we're going to MySQL query to execute it, and that is our query. And when executing it on our connection to the database, and that should now insert into the orders table. So we can give that a go. Back to shopping, let's add something. Let's order 5 to differentiate between the other ones in there. Hit proceed to checkout. See if that has actually triggered a order. Yes, it has, which is good, but there's an associated order details entry that will have to go along with that, which obviously is not going to be in there because we haven't done the SQL for that just yet. So let's write our insert into statement for query for the order details table to associate the order we've just made. Order details, isn't it? You need a subquery, which I'll talk about in a second. Or you might not, but I used a subquery when I did this previously. So we'll go quantity. And now we use our subquery. So we actually need to get data that's in the orders table, which is essentially what a subquery does. It's for getting data that's in another table to use in your current query. You have to use them you have to know how to do them for your external exam, I believe. What am I doing? Okay, so from orders, so we're linking to the orders table. It's kind of like an inner join, but not. You might be able to do it with an inner join. I don't know. Orders where, no, from orders where, orders dot, the customer ID is the person who had just ordered that. So let's just do a dummy one as me. So I'm order user ID 3, and the orders dot order date. Order date is equal to today, which is 31/03. No, 2021 03 31. And we'll see if that works. So we'll hit go. And it says it inserted a row of order details. Let's have a look. last one ideally. So 10496 is the order ID we're talking about. Let's have a look if orders has one for that. There it is there. Cool. So now we know that that SQL query works. We need to execute it for each product in our shopping cart. So let's add a couple. Chef Anton makes another appearance. Okay, so each time when we press proceed to checkout, we need to execute the query, both queries, but we need to execute the order details query for each item there because we can only specify one product ID and quantity at a time. So I'll paste in my query, call it SQL insert details, descriptive enough, put some quotes around it. Okay, so product ID we're inserting comes from, we'll get to that in a moment, and the quantity, so that comes from what's in the shopping cart for each item, so we're going to need to loop through that with a for each loop again. Customer ID, that comes from user ID, doesn't it? Cool, so that can be that, and the date comes from today, or the date we get here. That looks okay so far. We'll fix those up in a second. We need to loop through, so we'll go for each again. Copy that. Okay, so let's copy that in there and then execute it. No, MySQLi, isn't it? Query. No. Insert, what's it? Insert details. Each loop, it does that. Because remember, our order details table has multiple entries for the one order ID. All that's different is the product ID and the quantity. So if there wasn't a primary key for order detail ID, which they've created, which I would do as well, I usually use an ID column, which is unique. You could get the uniqueness from the a combination, a composite key, in other words. Okay, so we need to get the product ID, like we've done above, and that is equal to values and the loop we're on. So the product ID for the loop we're currently on, and we also need what? The quantity, is that right? Yes, we need the quantity, and that's the quantity for the product we're currently on in the loop as well. Now you can replace those values in there with that. So you do that, you execute the query, and then we might want to do something like, I guess we've got to check it works, hadn't we, before we do anything else. Hit that, check our order details table, and just have a look at the latest entries. What did we order? A couple of different things. Number 1 and whatever number Chef Anton's product is. Let's order it by order ID. I don't know why that's strange. The way it's sorted at the moment is a little strange. So the latest one will be at the end. So there it is there. 2 entries is correct because we ordered 2 products. And we ordered Chase, didn't we? Yep, that's number 1. And Chef Anton's Cajun seasoning is number 4, so that is working, which is awesome. All that we need to do now is, I guess, tell the user that their order has been received or something. Received, I before E, except after C. Thank you. Close the paragraph. What would we do now? We'd probably redirect somewhere. We wouldn't log them out. They might want to do more shopping. That would be a little nasty for user experience to log them out. So we'll delete everything in their cart like this. Elegant. And we'll also redirect them to, we'll do the fancy one, won't we? The 2-second delay. URL equals, we'll go back to the index page because we want them to keep shopping on our website. That's right. Refresh to URL, yep. And then let's kill all the rest of the code from running so it disappears. And I believe that's it. Let's test it. I'm going to test it from the get-go this time. Just to make sure. Let's order something obscure like the last one. Oh, that's an issue. Didn't see that. Okay. I did MySQL, not I, didn't I? MySQL I. Hopefully that fixes that. Yep. Let's Heinz means beans. That's an interesting entry. I must have added that one myself. Proceed to checkout. Cool. Redirects. View cart is empty. And now we can obviously log out and stuff like that. Let's check that actually worked. So we want our latest order details. ID. That's strange. Has it done it twice? That is... That's weird. Oh, they're not linked or something. Okay. Yeah. It's a funny one. Yeah, okay, so it's done it twice. Why has it done it twice? Let's see if it does it again twice with another product. Let's go the second last one, which must be 97, is it? Let's order 5. Have a look. Yeah, it's done it twice. Why they're doing it twice is the question. So, in my final test, I discovered that my SQL query for inserting into order details was not in fact correct. Oh, that looks broken. So I rejigged it. For a start, I spelled quantity wrong there and in the SQL query, but then I also added in our subquery, added in order by order ID from the orders table, descending order, so it gets the last one, and also limited those results to 1, which I believe fixed the issue. So the issue was it was inserting into the order details table using the wrong order ID, or it was, if you place multiple orders on one single day, it was it was doing all the order IDs, not just the latest one. So hopefully that SQL query has fixed that. We're about to find out, and hopefully that's the best way to write that SQL query to do this, or this whole section. Hopefully that's the best way to do it. I'm not entirely sure. Like a lot of this, I tend to play around with it until it works, and that's how I learn best, rather than learning about best practices and stuff like that. Anyway, let's add some Heinz mean beans and some Chang to our cart, and we'll go view cart, change the quantity of Chang to 5, and then hit proceed to checkout, and then it'll give us a message, and then it'll remove everything from our shopping cart, and you want the user to keep shopping on your website. So it goes back to the index page. Let's just check what actually happens in our orders table for a start. You can see there today's date. So we've got an entry there for that order we just placed of those 2 products. And in the order details table now, we should have 2 entries, 1 for each product, for the same order ID, which all looks good. Let's just make sure it's not doing what it was before, and log back in, and just order, say, the Chase, get 5 of those. Same deal, it does that, and then check our order details table, and it's only put the 1 in there for that order ID, which should be our latest one, which looks like it's all working. Great.